What is up, everybody? Welcome to another weekend roundup here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content I put out every single week. Two topics to cover today. Of course, starting with Arsenal Liverpool. Thrilling 2-2 draw. Arsenal goes up 2-0. By the end, they're holding on for dear life. They get the point at Anfield. And so now it's a 6 point gap because Manchester City took care of business with an extra game played. So technically, because there's still that head-to-head matchup, because of goal difference, Manchester City are back in control of their own destiny. Now, there are a lot of things that have to happen for that to actually come to fruition. And I'm going to save that for the end. I want to talk about the actual game first. Coming into this game, Arsenal should have felt good about walking away with a point. By the end of this game, Arsenal should have felt very fortunate to be walking away with a point. So at the end of the day, you can't be too disappointed about this. Now, yes, you blew a 2-goal lead. But look at the actual way that the game played out. And right, soccer's strange because you come into a game expecting or wanting one result, and then based on the way the game goes, you might end up feeling okay about a different result because you got a late equalizer or something like that. It's just one of the strange things that separates soccer from other sports, is the way that your viewpoints on a game will change based on how it unfolds and what you expected at the beginning. But that didn't change here. Now, yes, you expect to get 3 points in games you're up 2-0, but this is Liverpool at Anfield. And so you look at the way that this played out. You had, Liverpool get back into the game. You had Mo Salah miss a penalty. You had Aaron Ramsdale making huge save after huge save at the end of that game to preserve the 2-2 draw. And Arsenal were good. It's not like there was anything concerning about this performance outside of some of the defensive errors. And yes, not having William Saliba matters. This is also a team that stayed pretty healthy, so I'm not going to go point to that because plenty of other teams have had worse injuries to deal with. And Zinchenko gets nutmegged on Firmino's goal. Gabriel gets caught on the first goal, lets Salah get in behind him. It wasn't a great day defensively. Rob Holding concedes the penalty. You kind of go down the list of defensive mistakes. But that's what Liverpool do. They force you into mistakes. And they showed up in this game. So I'm just not too concerned about this. I'm not going to waver on my belief on Arsenal this time. I kind of backed off more than I should have when they hit their slump. And I'm not going to do it again. You still come away from this feeling okay. And so now to the City side of this. Like I said, if City win every single game the rest of the way, unless Arsenal start clobbering people, they're going to win the title. That is the significance of this game in terms of what those drop points meant. That also means they have to beat Arsenal. That also means they have to win their game in hand. And that also means they have to win the rest of their games. And I'm going to keep saying this. We have not seen this Manchester City team reel off 10 straight Premier League wins, 15 straight wins this season. They haven't gone on one of those runs. And yes, you could say they're about to because they're on the verge of doing so. Which is also when they have then proceeded to go drop points this season. So I'm not going to, if I'm an Arsenal fan, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm not going to freak out about this. Based on this season, City are due to drop points in the next game or two. And then we're having a very different conversation. And at the very least, if City do go pull this off, let's say they win out or they drop, 2 points or something, beat Arsenal, and find a way to win this title. If that's how it happens, you just give them a round of applause and you move on. That's not Arsenal throwing this away. It's not. If Manchester City actually go and do that the rest of the season and make Arsenal be perfect from this point forward, you just say bravo. That is different than if Arsenal, go on a 3-game winless run and they lose this game. It's a very different story that's being told. Because the point where it looked like they were going to collapse, they have already recovered from that. And City gave them their lead right back. So the reality of Arsenal being the team to drop points first out of these two in this last little stretch is that now we're kind of getting back into this, oh, here come Manchester City thing. And I'm not falling for it. Does that mean I'm confident Arsenal are going to win? No, this is a title race. And the fact that these two teams play, and the fact that Manchester City have a game in hand in our Manchester City, means this is way closer than the 6 points that are sitting there on the table. Absolutely. But we swung way too far in the other direction, collectively, last time Arsenal started slipping up. And I'm going to stick to my point about Manchester City. We haven't, of course they can do it. Would I be surprised if they do it? No. But we haven't seen them pull off one of those runs where they just win every game they play for 2.5, 3 months. It hasn't happened. They're about the point where they drop points again. So until they win 3, 4 more, this is still Arsenal's to lose. There's no reason to freak out if you are Mike Callertut, if you are an Arsenal fan. You take the point, you would have taken the point before this game probably, and you certainly would have taken it at the end based on the way things went. You move forward, you live to fight another day. You threw nothing away in this game. Manchester City still have to beat you in order for this title race to turn. This is still in your control as well. You don't need Manchester City to do anything or fail to do something. Arsenal can take care of business by themselves, and that's really all you can ask for at this point. It is still 100% in their control. To me, this is not where this title race is getting decided. And I feel like we're trying to make it into a bigger moment in this title race than it actually is. The second thing, real quickly, is the injury Mallory Swanson suffered on U.S. women's national team duty these final tune-up games before the World Cup this summer. Torn patella tendon. I haven't seen anything officially ruling her out of the World Cup, but it is hard to believe she's going to be able to participate, which first and foremost, thoughts go to her. She's obviously battled injuries in the past. This was gruesome to see. You could tell it was serious from the way that she exited the field and went to the hospital. And the news coming back was not good. So, to me, it is safe to operate under the... And again, this is not me... Certainly not a medical professional. But based on everything I have read and heard, it is safe to assume she is unfortunately not going to be able to participate in this World Cup. And so there's the human side of this first, and the incredible crushing disappointment this is for her, as she has been absolutely sensational. And is a very, very important part of her NWSL team in Chicago as well. But I want to talk about this from a U.S. women's national team perspective. Not only has Mallory Swanson been this team's best player this year, and you saw what she did at the She Believes Cup. Not only is she one of the 3 best wingers in the NWSL and on this roster, or 3 best attackers, I should say. Right? There's a clear front 3. It is her, it is Sophia Smith, and it is Alex Morgan. Full stop. There's no discussion about that. And yes, you do have somebody like Trinity Rodman who can come in and fill that spot. That's helpful. This team does have depth, and so it's hard to, specifically in that front line, because you have other options, it is difficult to evaluate how valuable those players are. Because it's not just her, right? She has the reigning league MVP and Alex Morgan up there with her, and Trinity Rodman available to take her place. Which is different than the whole point I've been making about Julie Ertz, which is there was never anybody who adequately replaced her on this roster, which makes her one of the most valuable players if she is in this World Cup squad. Because there is nobody to replace her that gives you exactly what she gives you. That's not really the case with Mallory Swanson. Of course, it's a crushing loss. She's been your best player, like I said. But from a positional standpoint, you're in better shape. However, here is the part of this that I want to just lay out. Call it a coincidence if you want. But I went back and I counted 12 games the U.S. women's national team has failed to win in normal time. So this is including the shootout win over the Netherlands since the 2019 World Cup. 12 games. 7 draws, 5 losses. Mallory Swanson has played in 4 of those games. Mallory Swanson has only played in 1 of the 5 losses. That is way too much data for me to believe this is a complete coincidence. You are free to feel that way. I see that as a telling statistic that screams value. That is how valuable Mallory Swanson is. To me, that is way too much data to just be completely circumstantial. Is there some other factors in there? Of course. Can they win the World Cup without her? Of course. But that tells you something. And I didn't go look at every single player, but I find it hard to believe somebody else has those kind of splits when it comes to participation in the win and the success and the failures of this team over this World Cup cycle in the past 4 years. And I actually went back and looked at this after the She Believes Cup, just because I was curious and I was looking at it, and I went, they don't lose with Mallory Swanson playing. And now that's becoming part of this conversation for this World Cup. That is an incredibly important thing to keep in mind. And it is incredibly scary for this team. They are so much better when she is on the field. And yes, obviously you're more likely to lose in the Olympics than you are at some friendly against a random team. But they're playing good opposition with her too. To me, this is one of the storylines of this tournament now. Is can they stop this, I'm calling it a troubling trend, of struggling to win games without her. That when the failures happen, she is not part of them. And now you're staring at the most competitive Women's World Cup of all time without her. I said last week, Julie Ertz can swing the balance of this World Cup in their favor and be the difference between, getting to a final, getting to a semifinal, and winning the whole thing. This injury can do the exact same thing. She has been that good. She is that important. Just go look at the results when she is there and the results when she is not. So all the best to Mallory Swanson. Hopefully it's as smooth of a recovery as possible. That's obviously priority number one. And for her to miss another major tournament is just awful. So all the best to her. This is a big deal in terms of the U.S. Women's National Team's World Cup hopes. That is all for the weekend roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.